you're using ESP32, right?
Yeah. Not for the rate actual, but for the auto steer. But no problem. The PGN for everything would work.
Because it is only 8-bit that comes back for total volume, right? Like that was the problem, that there wasn't enough bits to do total volume and and the actual rate and that sort of thing. So we need to separate the switches out from the rate stuff, and then just send 2 of them. And then that's easy enough. I just need to get off my butt ski and do that.
When talking about the PGN, just a question. The serial ports all are separate, and if I send IMU data from a BNO chip via the GPS serial port, it is not recognized because the serial ports all are separate. So if I have the data on the GPS serial port, AgOpenGPS can't read it.
We go to, here, I'll stop that. So all we need, just to finish a tram line, all we need is to whether or not you're on a tram line.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, that's piece of cake. Or UDP. Come on. Oh, this crazy window, it's always in the wrong place.
The speaker window?
Yeah, can you guys see the code?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it a little bigger so it's a little bit too big. So there's received so here's the IMU. If you send it on 5544 and then 127, but you put this in, you wrote this code, right?
Yep. It's only working for UDP. It's not working for serial port. Because this morning I tried to make a Bluetooth solution when the tractor network, the tractor Wi-Fi is not present. The ESP should switch over to Bluetooth to be able to use it with the smartphone. And I tried to feed AgOpenGPS with the serial Bluetooth. It worked, the GPS data came in, but nothing else. Because if you use the serial port to get data in, it's only for GPS.
Yes, GPS and rate.
Yeah,
there's only 2 serial ports, rate and GPS. You'd have to create, in AgOpenGPS, you'd have to create another USB port in order to use it with serial. Or you could add it to rate and then write all the code.
The background is I created a rooftop unit, including the GPS and BNO. And normally with UDP, it's no problem. But if I use it with Bluetooth, it's the serial port, and then I should split it. Because the GPS
serial port.
and the IMU data would be mixed up.
You'd have to write an entirely separate serial port. That's the good part about UDP is it's all one wire. It's just all networked together. So then you just add the code for an IMU like this is here. Sections, auto drive. You just keep adding them. Whereas with USB, every time you have a different module, now you have to write another USB port.
Okay.
So you'd have to create a whole USB program part and create a port and being able to attach the port and set what COM port it is. You have to duplicate all of that just to add the IMU.
So much easier using UDP.
Or just use the brick.
Yeah.
Because it uses USB, but it doesn't really use USB. It uses Ethernet over top of the USB port. Because my brick is up on top of the roof too, but then I just plug the brick into the USB port, but it emulates it as an Ethernet through the brick software. So then you don't need a separate USB port. That's, to me, I mean, in Europe you can probably get that brick fairly cheap, right?
It's $50.
Yeah, so it's like €30. For the hassle is just put the brick on for now.
Okay. Yeah.
And then just use the brick, because all the software is already there for the brick. I think there's a bunch of people that are using. I'm using the brick as well. For heading, it's a piece of crap, but at least it's a bit of a working solution.
Do you ever have any problems with that brick as far as having to connect to it? I find you start things up and then you don't have a yaw value, so then all of a sudden you have to go in, and what I do is I open the brick viewer, and then I have to connect and then watch the little graphs go, and then I close the brick viewer, and I restart AgOpenGPS, and then it recognizes it. Does anybody else have that issue?
Nope, I don't. I don't know what's going on there. It's all plugged in and recognized before you turn on AgOpenGPS?
Well, I guess it isn't. Maybe that's all it is. But anyhow.
Like it's plugged in before you turn
yeah.
Start it, yeah.
Right.
Stupid Windows. There's something preventing it from running initially. Does it, in your startup, does it run the brick in your Windows startup?
Maybe not. Maybe not. I haven't actually looked there. That would be the first place to look, wouldn't it be?
Yep, because it may not be running the drivers until you run like a brick application.
Mm-hmm.
That might be a thing worth looking into.
That's an easy fix.
Yeah, but you can see how much easier USB is, because in terms of adding code, yeah, you just add another case statement and just add it. So that's kind of the ultimate in versatility, to be able to use UDP. But it's more hardware, it's more of that. Matthias, you said there was a problem with the auto steer board, the hardware?
I've trouble with the MMA, with the level sensor. But I don't. I didn't debug it. I had no time to check why it's not working. It's
with the spark plug.
It's working well if the engine is turned off, but starting the engine, maybe it's because of the shaking, or I don't know.
The numbers are bouncing around all over the place?
Yeah, and very high numbers, about 42 degrees or something like that.
Oh, goodness.
So that's why I deactivated the MMA, and now it's driving much better.
Shoot.
I have to look what the problem is.
Because the board, I mean, the board schematic is, it's just the I2C lines in, that's it.
Yeah, and the I2C should work, because when the engine is off, it's working well. Maybe it's too cheap. I bought a Chinese one, and
oh, I don't know. That's a weird one. I hope to be able to get my board here this week and then get it put together. I noticed on the forum that Kaupoi, he had really big capacitors for those 1,000 microfarad, and they didn't fit on the board. But I know I built the board, like I printed it out on paper, and the capacitors I got from DigiKey, they're less than a centimeter, and they fit on there perfectly. So I guess that's something to watch, is how big of a capacitor are you getting? It doesn't have to be 1,000 microfarad. It can be 300, as long as it's, you know, less than a centimeter. Maybe 1,000 is too big. I don't know.
Has anyone, other than, I don't know how it was, Kaupoi, is he the only one that's got one set up right now? Is there anybody here that has tried one out as far as a PCB?
Of the newest version?
Yeah.
I haven't seen any messages. No. I'm going to get, make sure it's reasonably okay, but I'm going to get Arvel, wife, to make it. She's going to solder it and build the board, and then I'm going to videotape it. So that should be kind of fun. That'll be good marriage counseling there. Maybe needed after, but then nothing will be taken for granted in terms of building it, because if someone who is completely unfamiliar with the project builds it, then she'll ask all the right questions. So really looking forward to that, actually. Yeah, I don't know if you saw the video of the section control. Her hands in the video, she made that with the little Arduino and the screws, and so she electronics in high school and soldered a whole bunch of stuff, so she knows how to solder, and so looking forward to that. The thing was, it seems like the edge connectors are too close to the outside of the board when you slide it in the case. And if that's the case, put the connector on the other way around so the wires come on the inside of the board. Have you ordered one, Wilbert? No?
I'm waiting to see if there's any bugs in it when.
Yeah. You clever. You're very clever. Yeah, me too. Hey, it's the first version. There's definitely gonna be problems with it. I mean, I don't know if you guys know Keith Christensen. He's building a mower and everything, and he really wants the self-driving part, and he's actually ordered the boards, and we're going to split the boards. He's going to take 3 and I'm going to take 2. And he said, like, he used to work for a power company, and he said if a big company did this project, it would take them 8 to 10 months just to make that first board. Let alone 2 or 3 weeks to develop and design the board and get it out and get it made, get a prototype, and have it kind of working. So he said this is kind of insane to watch. So that was kind of encouraging. But I think it'll mostly work, that board. I mean, it's not a super complicated board. There's a lot more complicated boards that, man, you just run into so many trouble. The modules and stuff. I mean, it looks like the modules fit and the spacing fits. And if you use the right size capacitors and that sort of thing, it should mostly work. So I've written most of the code. Hey, Zach, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you? Sorry, I'm a little late. I'm at work, so.
It seems like all the modules fit. So, and if stuff fits on the board, that's a big step forward. We're just discussing the auto steer board, Zach. Have you built one?
The package just arrived in the U.S. here today, so hopefully it's at the post office, and I'll have it maybe mid next week.
Cool. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Let's try and get it made next week, maybe.
Yeah, I have all the components on my DigiKey order. Actually, it only took about 2 days to get here, but.
Yeah, that's nice. That's sure a slick system to be able to import an Excel spreadsheet and then just order the parts.
Yeah, for sure. It was real simple.
As long as the parts are right.
Yeah, hopefully.
Did you order the case as well?
No, I've got a couple of plastic cases. They're bigger than what I need to, but I skimped on the case for now.
It's actually a really nice case, that aluminum, for $30. It's aluminum sides, and then the ends come off, and then you can screw them on. They're plastic ends, and it's a extruded aluminum case all around the outside, and then one of the door or the top of that extruded slides open, so that you can slide the and you can leave it all open, and it's aluminum. So I'm hoping that the board fits it, but we'll see. But it's actually, like I say, for $30, it's a very durable case.
Yeah, I've just got some of the cheapy $10, $12 plastic cases, but
yeah, I have a bunch of those too.
It'll work for now.
Yep. I've ordered that relay switch input board as well. And I've ordered all the parts for it. There's some fairly small, again, automotive relays, 12-volt relays. They're really small and they're 20 amp relays, and they're just a few bucks a piece. It's an incredible relay from DigiKey. So looking forward to seeing those as well. So that should be providing good power. And then using that ULN 2803, it'll drive all those relays no problem.
Later on, I want to get with you and switch my two computers over like we did the other day.
Okay.
We're not doing all the other two.
I'll be right back here. I gotta do something here quick.
No worries. I'll put you on mute for a little bit.
Okay, so was there anything else?
Just a question to the relay board. You used single pole relays. Would it be possible to use dual pole? Because some people have and the sprayer have motor-driven valves, and so they need to put in plus and minus, and then closing minus and plus.
It was pretty cozy to make it even with the single relays. I don't know if they're available in double pole. I could look. But then you have to make the board. There's twice as many connections again. Now there's 6 connections out the other side. So yes, you could, but then the board would have to be bigger, I would think.
Or make another board.
Make another board. A double pole and a single pole board.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I made that board just to try that MCP 23017, that 16 input output to I2C. That's the only reason I made that board. It seems handy. Like it'll have 8 relays and 8 inputs, and it's the same size profile as the AutoSteer board, so it should be able to just fit right on top. I'm hoping to be able to slide both boards into that. Okay. So then you have 8 relays, 8 inputs, 3 inputs on the AutoSteer board and AutoSteer in a case like that big.
Yeah, cool stuff. Yeah. Just another thing. I used it for section control, and the hardware setup was all the same as last year. And when driving, sometimes the section turned off. I think maybe AgOpenGPS thought about driving backwards at the moment. But I was driving at about 6 kilometers or 7 kilometers an hour, and it switched off for 2 meters and switched on again. And another one reported this problem in the combine. So, I tried it with the new U-Blox F9, and this problem came up when or was even worse when I used 10 Hertz GPS rate, and it got better when I reduced to 5, and in U Center set 10 Hertz satellite rate and output rate divided 2. So the U-Blox chip only sent 5 times a second, and halved the values of two measurements.
How many sentences are the U-Blox sending?
Don't know. 5 per second.
No. How many? Sorry. How many different sentences are they sending? GGA and RMC and VTG and?
Don't know exactly, but I think only GN, the combined satellite sentence.
No, like is it sending RMC and GGA?
GN, GGA, yeah. And I don't know what else.
Because if it sends, Andrew, you had this problem, right? Like if it sends too much information, you can't process information fast. And then it comes up with 0 kilometers an hour, and if it's 0 kilometers an hour, it shuts the relays off. So it can get behind if there's too much text data coming in on that USB line. I emulated that problem in the Outback. I made it send RMC and GGA and VTG and 4 or 5 other sentences, and the serial port doesn't have enough time, even at 38 bytes, to process all that text. Like it's a lot of information. I should go back. I should stop sharing.
Is it possible that AgOpenGPS would only process the GN sentence, the combined satellite sentence, if it's present? So filter it out and drop all the other stuff?
But that's part of parsing it, right? You have to parse the sentence to know what the sentence is. So like the watchdog timer, every 50 milliseconds, it goes and it says a new sentence. And then so it takes that information and it brings a sentence in. But if the buffers aren't big enough and a sentence is chopped in half, it's trying to parse that information, but now it'll drop that sentence because it's not a complete sentence.
I don't think it's a problem of transmitting the data, because it's used via UDP, and it's the same problem if using serial connection with 150.
But it's still processing the same amount of information.
Okay.
It's not a problem with the USB port. The problem is that the loop isn't fast enough to process all those sentences by the time more sentences come in. And it messes it up. If you could see, and that's a problem, because how do you parse all those sentences and figure out what they are and filter them without knowing what they are? Like you have to figure out what they are in order to filter them, to not exclude them, but then you still have to figure out what they are. Like a sentence is actually fairly long, you know, especially like RMC. It's a lot of text. And then by the time you chunk through it all, and then 50 milliseconds later, you got another whole batch coming.
Okay.
And if I make that watchdog timer say do it in 20 milliseconds, like 50 times a second, if your computer is too slow, you know, and if you can't have the full frame rate done in 20 milliseconds, then it starts another frame before the last frame is done, you know, parsing and drawing and all that sort of thing. So then now it creates another frame and it starts another frame before the last frame's done, and it just gets behind. Real balance between being able to process that information and get the next frame done.
Okay, won't it save time if you only process the first 3 bytes and drop the last one if they are not valuable?
Well, the first thing you have to do is determine whether or not it's a valid sentence. So you have to determine what that sentence is, and does it match the length of what that sentence should be? And then, you know, that's why, you know, is fixed from, like when you're setting up the ports, right, is fixed from GGA or from RMC or that sort of thing. Once it figures out that it's an RMC sentence and you want GGA, then it doesn't do anything with it. It throws it out the door.
Okay.
But the key is, if you don't need an RMC sentence, don't send it to AgOpenGPS. But I think that's a problem with the F9P because you can't, can you tell it to not send all those sentences?
I haven't tried. I filtered them out in the ESP32, and but that caused other problems, so I dropped the filter. But it would be possible to filter it in the ESP because the data comes in via RxTX channel, and the ESP has time enough to about more than half the time.
See, the advantage of the ESP is it doesn't have to go draw everything and figure out if you're inside a boundary and do 8 trillion other things. Like if you have the ESP, that might be a way around your BNO. Why don't you also bring in the BNO and then use that PAOGI sentence? Just create a PAOGI sentence and send that to AgOpenGPS.
Yeah, using UDP, no problem. Yeah.
But you could do serial or UDP with that PAOGI sentence. Then you would just have one sentence coming to AgOpenGPS. Like Charles made that for the AMLET, I believe.
Yeah, and who was it? Last time we met, he was using it on the reach. Was it John? I forget.
Yes, somebody was. They were using that PAOGI sentence, and it's got tilt and roll and everything all in the sentence. It works. I mean, if you're gonna have an ESP in between your GPS and AgOpenGPS, I think that is the best solution, because the ESP can no problem get rid of all that other garbage.
Yep.
Create a PAOGI sentence in about 18 microseconds and send it on its way.
Yeah. Okay.
I can post the specs of the PAOGI sentence on Comment Forum.
Also, we were talking about GGA, VTG, and all that stuff. We've had that posted a long time ago, and what suggested minimum messages or best messages to get. Might not hurt to put that up again too. I'm wondering if that might be some errors that some folks are having when we see stuff jumping all over the place.
Because you had that, right, Andrew? Yeah, well, the problem was more with the sprayer. It was the tractor would drive no problem at all, but yeah, every time the spray control would try and come on, it would just flicker, and it was just ended up being a delay or something to do with it. No, like you said, the speed was not right, so it would actually turn the boom on and then turn it off again, and really rapidly until you actually got away from a previously applied area. So and we just turned GGA off and just used RMC, and that seems to work really well. Yeah. And then you're only once. Yeah.
So what is suggested, Brian? Is it just GGA and VTG, or what's the best?
Well, RMC is the fastest. I mean, it's just a single sentence. If you can use that, that's probably the best. Here, I'm just going to share my screen for 1 sec. If I can figure out how.
Yeah, the trouble with RMC only is I use the Outback as well, and that will it takes a lot longer to get a fix, but I guess I have to wait a bit longer.
Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yep.
You're like up in the corner, right, using the big panel. Up here, right, where it shows the sentence. That's got to be nice, and that's how I picked up yours, Andrew, because you were getting sentences that were cut off stream and that sort of thing. And this is running GNHDT, GP, VTG, and GGA at the same time. And that seems to work. But I think a lot of these GPS units put out so many sentences That's an easy way to tell, is if this isn't nice and smooth with no flickers, no drop sentences, that sort of thing. If this is flickering and bouncing all over the place and it's blank and it goes half a sentence, then that's what your problem is. You can't get the data through fast enough. There's too much information there. The only reason we use VTG is for speed. And technically, you could calculate speed based on your fixed-to-fixed distances. So you could actually eliminate VTG as well, like in a future release or whatever, just by eliminating or by calculating it based on your fixed distance. But then that's not super accurate either. The speed that comes from the GPS unit is extremely accurate. Hate to lose that. But if you're just sending VTG and GGA, then it works flawless. I use GGA at 10 hertz coming out of the Outback on in the John Deere.
Yeah, the guts of the Outback, I believe, is a hemisphere module anyway. So, and I know those things have pretty good update rates as far as like mine can go up to 20 hertz if I wanted it to, but
yeah, 10 is sufficient. And then we used the Trimble last year too, like 372 Trimble receiver for the seeding for section control. And same thing, it was just the GGA and VTG, and turned everything else off, and that worked pretty good.
So I was kind of a fly on the wall for this last here little conversation about too much information about the U-Blox. He's using the F9P. Who is it that was using that? Is it MTZ 8302?
Yep. Yeah, I'm using it. And I think it's using too.
I believe that you can turn those sentences on and off in U-Center.
I haven't checked.
When you're configuring it, I'm pretty certain you can select which sentences and which not to send. And Andreas, he probably knows exactly. I think he uses that.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, guys, I have to go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was supposed to go 19 minutes ago.
sorry.
Oh, no problem. No. That's good. We should probably meet every couple of weeks, eh?
Yeah, it's been about every other 2 weeks or every 2 weeks. I think we could do that, and we'll do a pro subscription, and that way we can go for the full hour uninterrupted without doing 2 sections, Act 1 and Act 2.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, thanks, guys. Sorry, again, I have to run, but
All right. See you later, Brian.
Okay, thank you, guys. We'll take care. We'll see you next time.
Yep.
Okay. I hope I can join next time a few minutes before.
Yeah, no worries. I think Zach was just asking a question to you, Andreas, right before Brian was taking off. He was wondering about can you in U-Center with the ZED F9P turn on and off all the sentences that might be required?
Yes, I can turn on and off with U-Center all I need. What's the problem?
I think we were just talking about too many sentences coming into AgOpenGPS.
Okay, I've only turned on GGA and 40G. Okay, only the 2 messages. And I have turned everything off on the U-Blox. And this is also very important if you run a very high rate to turn off the messages to the other ports like UART2, UART1, and because the F9 become problems, and then the F9 is sending some wrong sentences. So it says, I think, buffer overrun. And that's the problem if you set too many messages to too many ports. I also got, can show it. I don't. Do you see it?
Yep.
A box of F9s, 20 pieces.
Oh.
And I have successful put two together. And the first F9 is running as at the car rover. And I've connected the second F9 to the first. And that's called the moving baseline. So the first F9 is put out RTGM messages to the second one, and the second one also calculated this position. And it's very easy to make a dual antenna system with it. The only problem is to get all the messages together and write it back to AgOpenGPS. So I don't really know how I do it, but I think I will try it over the I2C bus.
Okay.
But that only works with boards from CSG shop
Okay.
or like SparkFun, because I don't think that the AutoSimple has have the boards.
No.
I don't think they have it on the board. But I think it's very easy to do.
Okay. We're going to run out of time here. So I think we're just going to wrap it up, and thank you.